I describe myself growing up in Chicago as a formerly shy, low self-esteem underachiever with a bad attitude. In other words, I was a normal Chicago kind of wise guy. I've written an article that's called Affirmations Anonymous, my recovery group for negaholics.
I love it.
That is awesome.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand.
What if you ran your business like a top athlete? That concept actually makes perfect sense to us. And that's why we invited Jim Rohrbach, success skills coach, to the show. Jim is known as the personal fitness trainer for your business. He coaches financial advisors around the United States to help them grow their clientele. What sets Jim apart from other business coaches? It's his ability to improve his clients' inner game of success through specific mental rehearsal techniques, not unlike the great athletes use to get to the top of their game. Hey, let's find out how he does it.
Jim, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thank you, Michael.
We know that you've been coaching since the mid-90s, so congratulations there. Tell us a little bit more about how you grew up and what brought you to the world of coaching.
Well, that is a long story. I'll try to condense it a little bit. I describe myself growing up in Chicago as a formerly shy, low self-esteem underachiever with a bad attitude. In other words, I was a normal Chicago kind of wise guy. And also I was going nowhere, very frustrated and depressed about my prospects in life, let alone career. I did go to college and because I had a choice. Either go to Vietnam or go to college. I said, go to school or kill people. I think I'll go to college. I did get a BA in psychology. I did get a master's degree in education. Still, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. But I began to read books like Think and Grow Rich. This is my worn out copy that I still review every December. And How to Win Friends and Influence People. Listen to Nightingale Conant audio programs. You may or may not be familiar with them.
Very.
Attend personal development workshops. And it dawned on me that, not only am I benefiting from this, I could probably help people with some of these ideas. So I developed my first coaching program in 1982. Tried to run it as a business. By 93, I was in debt and going broke. And I folded it up and I said, what a bad idea. I'll never try that again. Took one job, then another job, then a corporate job. But 10 years after, I said, still reading books like those, still listening to audio programs, going to more seminars. Maybe I'll try it again. And that was in 1993. And I was doing it in person at first, and then I realized I got an opportunity to work with Nightingale Conant Corporation, I mentioned before, as a contract coach, and I started to attract financial advisor clients, and that seeded my practice. And since then, 1998, I got my first financial advisor client. I'm still coaching financial advisors.
That's a great story. Because it's very linear. Clearly, coaching was in your blood and you could not get rid of it.
I grew up as a sports fan and I love to see players excel. They didn't excel very much on my Chicago Cubs, but the Bears were good. And eventually the Chicago Bulls became a great team.
Amen.
And I realized the coaches made a big difference. Especially with the Bulls, Phil Jackson, who they just did a survey of Chicagoans. He was voted as the greatest Chicago coach of all time. And I'm a big fan of his. And he's written some books, one called Sacred Hoops, in which he talks about helping his players work on their inner game, their mental game, not just the physical skills. And so, you could say cheering teams on and seeing players get better excited me. It's like, wow, I wonder if I could do that. There's one more story now that I think of it. There was a young kid in Baltimore growing up over a century ago. And this kid was a real troublemaker, and his parents couldn't control him. And so they put him in a reformatory, a reform school in Baltimore. I think it was called St. Mary's. And there was a guy there named Brother Matthias. And the kid's name was George. He said, George, I'm going to introduce you to baseball. And he got him to play baseball. And George got really good and took to baseball like a pig in slop. And pretty soon a scout from the Baltimore Orioles came by and saw him, signed him to a contract. Then he went to the Boston Red Sox, and then they traded him to the New York Yankees. You may know him by a different name, George Ruth, Babe Ruth. And I always thought, well, Babe Ruth was cool, but how cool is Brother Matthias to see the potential in this kid and get him to be a major league and the greatest player of his generation. And that inspired me. That was like, what a guy Brother Matthias was. And most people don't even know who he is.
That's a great point. That's a super point.
And most people know who Phil Jackson is, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, for sure. We use the example, and you probably agree with our clients. We're like, you have to understand it's hard to read the label. It's impossible to read the label when you're the one inside the jar.
Yeah. Right.
And that person outside is that person that can see you and see this potential and sometimes even hurt over the potential that you're not living up to.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What clients are you best suited to serve? I know you said the financial industry. Is that what you've stuck to all this time? Is there a specific niche in that?
You know, when I first was networking in the 90s, I'd go to networking events and they'd say, Jim, well, who do you coach? And I'd say, well, I can coach any small business owner, entrepreneur, sales professional who wants to learn, grow, and get better. And they go, well, Jim, that's everyone in the room here. And then I realized I started to need to talk about financial advisor clients I work with. So financial advisors work at either large firms like Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, UBS, Wells Fargo advisors, or smaller regional firms, or a lot. Nowadays, there's a trend towards independent advisors. That's who I work with. And the qualifications are they have to have been in business at least 3 to 5 years to have a book of business where they go, gee, I'm earning 400 grand. I should be earning 750 or 800. Or they're earning 750 and they say, why aren't I doing $1 million? I have a client right now that I'm working with that's at 750. He wants to do $1.5 million this year. And it's like, great, that's the goal. Now let's define what you need to do to get there. So it's financial advisors who help their clients, their coaches, really. They help their clients find their goals, create a plan to achieve the goals, and then provide support, education, and most importantly, accountability to make sure they get there. And that's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I love how you're niched down into that arena, simply because we talk a lot about specialization. And it's very like someone said to you, look, that's everybody in the room. And it's hard to stand out when you're literally serving everybody in the room. But if you say, this is the only place that I concentrate, then what happens is, and also the goal of a personal brand is to get somebody to look at you and say, Jim, that's what you do? My gosh, that's exactly where I am. We should talk, right? And they're not going to say that if they don't feel special to you and feel unique in that space, and especially feel like you're unique in that space. So hats off to you, Jim, for that part of it. That's fantastic.
I have another to add on to that too. Like, you're smart enough in that niche to identify people who are already doing it. Because, you know, when you say like, well, you know, that's everybody in the room, that's really only partly true in my mind, because I'm like, well, that's everybody's thought of what they want in that room. But out of that room of people who all think they want that, there's still only this remnant that's actually going to do it. And that's really, really, I think, important, right? Wouldn't you say? I mean, you can't necessarily coach talent, but talent likes to be coached a lot of times. Does that make sense? People that are doing it are the people that are the best to help.
Yeah, sure. Sure thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned the Nightingale series. That would be the famous Earl Nightingale, right? Who would you say has been your most important mentor throughout your life?
That I've had so many, and every morning, and we can get into my morning success ritual that I've been doing every day for could be 30 years. And part of it is giving thanks to all of my great teachers and mentors with my personal development workshop mentors, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Earl Nightingale, The Stranger's Secret, also the co-founder of Nightingale Conant Corporation, a Chicago-based a Chicago-based corporation that I had the extraordinary good fortune of being a contract coach for, and literally went to their offices between 1998 and 2010. I subleased space from them. And my favorite authors there, among them, were the great Brian Tracy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you how great Brian Tracy was. When I first heard his Psychology of Achievement audio, which was his first, he said on it, I was driving my car down the road and I had an audio cassette in at the time. Remember audio cassettes? I'm dating myself. He said, if you want to get in the top 10% of your field, read an hour a day. I heard that and I went, an hour a day? How about an hour a week? Because I wasn't reading anything. I was like, I'm done with school. I know all I need to know, like an idiot. So I finally said, all right, I'm going to have a goal. I'm going to read 1 book a month this year. And that year I went through 14. I said, all right, next year, 2 books a month. And I got to 30. And so now it's 50 books a year. I read 50 nonfiction books a year related to nonfiction, success skills, marketing, networking, biographies of successful people. And Brian was the one who also said, readers are leaders. He also said, working with affirmations are critical. Mm-hmm. And he said this corny one, I like myself and I love my work. And it's like, no, Brian, I've adapted. I say 8 affirmations every morning. And one of them is, I make a positive difference in people's lives. And so that's who I am before anything in the morning. I mean, literally. And now I do it laying down. I used to do it walking my dog, but I had back surgery a year ago. I'm still working on walking upright and straight, but I'm doing very well, believe me. Actually, I can ride my bike for 20 miles, but I can't yet walk a mile because I'm upright. I'm seated now. I'm fine. Anyhow, so I work with affirmations every morning. That's Brian Tracy. He said the first hour of every day is the golden hour. That's the hour where you start before anything else. So I don't even look at the computer, email, anything before I do my morning ritual. I have a mission statement for my marriage and a mission statement for my business. So I recite both of those. The essence of my business mission statement is, I create happy, successful clients who have a clear-cut sense of purpose, high self-esteem, meaningful, achievable goals, and the ideas and skills they need to succeed at the next level in their business, guaranteed.
Like what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button and learn how you can change how you're seen and charge what you're worth.
That's who I am. And by the way, what is the importance of having a morning success ritual? You may be wondering. Are either of you sports fans?
Yes.
Who's your team?
Well, the Steelers would be the team that I would probably love the most. Although I haven't been a very good sports fan in the last couple of years, but let's just go back a couple of years.
Mike, and you, Mike?
I don't watch a lot of sports, but I was a huge Chicago Bulls fan back in the Phil Jackson days, of course, and the GOAT,
Thank God for Michael Jordan.
Amen.
Was known before Michael Jordan came. You know who we were known for?
Who?
Al Capone.
Yes.
Right? Non-sports at all. Yeah.
Thank God for Michael Jordan. And now we're known also for deep dish pizza. But
Yes.
I think the sports analogy is you wouldn't want your Steelers, or I wouldn't have wanted, or anyone wanted the Bulls to play a game without, in the Bulls' case, a shoot-around before the game and layup lines, or the Steelers should have stretching and run through some plays. That's what the morning success ritual is about, so that when I cross the white lines of success skills coaching, I'm ready to go. I'm pumped up. I'm rock and roll. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm all about.
It's beginning with yourself.
Yeah, it's beginning on working on me, and literally every day, including the weekends. I do the ritual on the weekends. I've written an article that's called Affirmations Anonymous, my recovery group for negaholics.
I love it.
That is awesome.
I can send it to you.
Please do.
Oh, yes, please do.
And I want to say, you're really speaking our language here. Not to interrupt you, I want to continue your thought. But I do this the very same thing myself and have for years.
Yes.
I mean, pour the coffee, sit down in the seat, go to the ritual every day, period, bar none, no matter what. And if I have a fishing trip that leaves at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm up at 4 to do the ritual. Like, it never changes. Yeah.
It's, I have a networking group I meet with at 7:30 on the first Thursday of the month. And I want to get my workout in because I like working out in the morning. So I'm at the Y at 5:15 to get the workout in and get a good hour in so I can get to the networking group by 7:30, which is about 40 minutes away. And so I'm up at 4 and it's okay. We're doing it at 4 today. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Got to be done. And I'll send you my article about the morning success ritual. But Affirmations Anonymous, I consider myself, again, going back to who I was, formerly shy, low self-esteem, underachiever. It's like, well, I, like most ordinary people, can easily get addicted to the negativity in the world, in our society, in the media. And I was addicted to it in my own thinking, until I realized I could control my thinking. Earl Nightingale, we become what we think about, or Think and Grow Rich. Repetition of affirmation waters your subconscious mind is the only known method of the voluntary development of the habit of faith. That's in Think and Grow Rich, and I review it every year. And it's taking control of one's thinking every day.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't, then I'll maybe glance at Google News. It's like, oh my God, this world, we're going to hell in a bucket. The Grateful Dead song. So heads, I trust.
Here in the South, we say go into hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I literally had my sales meeting this morning and then talked about this because it's so important, and people, a lot of times, they just pass over it. And they should not pass. So if there's a listener out there, we just need one of you. Listen to what Jim's saying. It's so true. It'll transform your life. It really will.
It's like, especially someone who maybe works out physically, but life isn't going great. Well, it's the same thing. The way you build your attitude to positive is a daily mental or spiritual workout, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't conflict with it. If anyone has strong religious beliefs, it shouldn't conflict with that. It should enhance.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's another question for you, Jim. If you could only be known for one thing, what would that be for you? What would be important for you to be known for?
Well, my affirmation, Jim made a positive difference in people's lives. Now, the second might be Jim believed that if he could get someone to laugh, it was a successful day. So I'm off duty already. I'm already won the day.
That's right. You can retire for the day, right?
I'm with my wife on that, but she keeps saying, Jim, get some new material, would you? She's heard all my shit.
Oh, Jim, I love it. You're very refreshing. We'll have to have you back on sometime.
That's for sure.
Love it.
You have everything. You have all of my wisdom. There's nothing left.
I'm sure we could pull some more out of you.
No, I guarantee it. And I can't reiterate enough. We would agree 100% with what you're saying, because it's very important. I like to say every day's Saturday. That's my slogan. And it's because I live that way every day. I started off as I wasn't going to accept any different, but that doesn't always last because things encroach upon you. Right. But if you are regimented about that routine, you will find, and of course, Tanya's favorite is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and his quote that changes things you look at, and the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Yeah. So she started hammering that on me. I think that's really what made me begin to really make it into a regiment.
Your erroneous zones. Read that 25 years ago. Great book. And he has a number of audio programs at Nightingale Conan. I mean, I can't list everyone I've listened to at Nightingale Conan because over the course of 12 years, I had about a 30-minute drive to and from their offices. And every day I would push in the audio cassette or the CD. And when I got to the destination, I'd shut it off. Now, if the audio ended, then I permitted myself to turn on sports talk radio. That was the only exception. But other than that, I was just taking it in. I suspect after all these years, I'm an audio learner. And I don't like Zoom. I do all of my coaching by phone. Now I have a little headpiece. I don't use this phone, but it's all by phone. See, right now, if I'm talking to you, I have to be looking at the screen. I can't be looking down, or I can't be looking. Well, I can, but I would think it'd be distracting for people I was Zooming with. But
I think you're right. I think you have an excellent point. And when you and I first met, which is, one of the reasons I really loved what you were talking about when we first met. And I thought, gosh, we have to have him on the podcast because he has a great, unique approach and he only coaches by phone. And I don't know too many people who do that right now, which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah. It's actually another point of differentiation that has been given to you after COVID when everybody figured out Zoom.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I was virtual before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I have to say one more thing before we go into the final two questions for today. You mentioned the word legends, and I want to encourage all coaches out there, no matter what age you are, but especially the younger coaches coming into this industry, to pay attention to the legends. Some of the names you mentioned today are the top names in the industry. And, as Solomon says, and that there's nothing new under the sun, right? So those original thoughts and concepts like Napoleon Hill's and Earl Nightingale's and Dale Carnegie's and all of the great names, they were the forerunners in this industry. Don't leave them behind. Don't think the latest, greatest, shiniest thing is the only thing. Go back to where those people got the information too, because it goes back to those late great legends. And I love them. And I'm so glad you came on here to talk about them today.
Yeah. And it's kind of like if you like rock and roll music, for example, and all, well, go back and check out the blues masters that they were all inspired by.
Right.
Exactly.
B.B. King and Buddy Guy, and even earlier than that, Robert Johnson. Mm-hmm. The famous Chicago blues artist. And that's where rock and roll came from.
Sure.
Absolutely it is.
They called
Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals. Go watch some of the documentaries about Muscle Shoals and Robert Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I have a question. We always end the show with this question. If our listeners have the freedom to visit anywhere on earth, which place would you recommend to them and why?
Wrigley Field on a Friday afternoon for a day game. I've been to the Taj Mahal. I've been to the Grand Canyon. I've seen the pyramids in Egypt. There's no place more beautiful on the planet than a full stadium in June at Wrigley Field on a sunny Friday.
Oh, I love that answer,
That's a great
Jim.
answer.
I love it. And it ties right back to your point of differentiation, which is basically how the top athletes do it. That's how you apply coaching. And I love it, Jim. Thank you so much. And do me a favor, end with this. Tell the audience how they can get in touch with you.
I think the easiest way, if anyone wants to get in touch, is to go to my website. It is successskills.com. You need 3 S's in the middle. Otherwise, it's Success Kills. You wouldn't want that to happen.
Bravo, bravo.
That's fantastic.
Yes, thank you again so much, Jim. It has been refreshing. And you can now retire for the rest of the day because you've made us laugh a lot. Ready to change how you're seen and charge what you're worth? If you're not getting enough opportunities to meet with ideal customers, or the prospects you're meeting with just aren't ideal, it's most likely your brand that's holding you back. So if you're a coach, consultant, or expert who is on the rise, you need our ultimate guide to a freedom-based brand. Download it free now at BrandFaceGuide.com.